I see you in the back. There's seats up here. Should we just take a moment and let you come forward?
Comfy seats.
Comfy seats. Saving those, the best for last, right? And
This is our local celebrity. She was just in Sunset Magazine.
Michelle, nice to have you here. And Michelle makes things happen too. She's getting well informed about that. So she's in this month's Sunset Magazine as someone's favorite store, the reporter's favorite store in Healdsburg. And
say the name.
It is called Retrofit Home.
Yes.
And you can go in there and, like at the poetry reading last weekend at the Arts Festival, she had an old bed spring with potted plants hanging in it, embedded in it. That was the backdrop. And it just makes a perfectly good wall. I mean, it's just, she's a genius. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Let's see, and I wanted to also thank Shelton's for providing cookies tonight, which you can't get to because we're in the way. Right? And also Holly at Dragonfly Teas has provided hot tea. It's rooibos herbal tea. Rooibos is from Africa, South Africa. And it's, when we get to it, you're going to love it. I want to start with, this is my book that just came out, Send Me No Ants. And I'm just going to open with one poem because I'm very moved by the idea of what we're doing tonight is being done all over the world. Even though I personally think when a poet stands up or a writer stands up and reads, the air changes. It could change almost anywhere. And it doesn't, we don't have to know about it. So this takes place in 1902, the heel of Africa. Wheel-sucking mud season, attacks by natives, river crossings, wildfires, December heat, prevent the hurry north. Arched wagons draped in sailcloth, lurch in deep ruts. Hungry settlers push beyond the known. Need fertile land, water aplenty. Halt now in the shade of marula trees. Monkeys scatter, yellow fruits tumble. A girl child framed in red curls, soon born and screams. Salty scent of blood, vultures hover. Sky blackens, flies seek eyes of man and beast. Feverish baby cradled by rut rocking. Songs of her elders drive the oxen. African women wake up first. African women wake up first before the dawn mist muffles the boatman's cry. It must be 8 o'clock. Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start over. I just thought it was going to be more dramatic when they went out at 8 o'clock. Every night at 8 o'clock the lights go out. So, you know, it's our little venue for events, and during the day we let realtors work here. I think some of them are in the house. African women wake up first, before the dawn mist muffles the boatman's cry, before the fishers uncover yesterday's catch from the smoky racks over the night watchman fires, before the sleeping mats float upwards their dreamers, they're ill, they're malarial screamers, they're old, they're babies thirsting for milk and honey. The African woman moves silently among raucous clamor, sleepy birds, hyrax in the palms saturated after a night of eating and calling, and the predators, panting past just outside the smoldering cook fires, growl their progress. Downriver, wailing for the sick or dying, blend celebration and hope in tune with the talking drums. A world of change, you know, like we're in a real strange space right now in the world, it seems. And I think when we get into those troubled times, we might feel a longing for where we did feel comfortable for a time when we were safe. And I know that we're safe in Healdsburg because it has the word heal in it. Technically healed, right? Bitter greens and hot sauce carry me to Africa. A simple peanut soup. Vegetable broth, onions, garlic, flat pale butter beans, crunchy peanut butter, the kind that's nothing but peanuts. 1 sweet potato cut up, skin on. A small basket of bitter greens. I snip in little pieces of sun-dried tomatoes. I throw in a tiny whole habanero pepper to float around and spread the spicy news. In the steam rising from my urban soup, I see Veronique and Mama Lena, full-bodied African women, aromatic, sun-warmed, wrapped in bright designs, cooking the same food. They pound the peanuts into a paste. They are laughing and carrying on, one pressing a breast to the baby on her back, the other chasing out a stray goat, a family of chickens. They clap greetings to Lalo, just back from the water source, ask her the news she's heard. As she lowers her pail from her bound hair with a minimum of splashes, the rivulets practically steam as they run for her breasts and down her back and arms. I make my soup in the silence of my mind, missing the smell of cook fires and the calling back and forth, the startled, awake feeling you feel when someone really looks at you and takes you in completely. This is my cloak and apron while I cook. This is why I can savor each sip. My people helped me cook, kept me company, loved me the way I am, without waiting to see how well I could love them back. I finish with a true story that is about bees, and it's about maybe something more than bees. If anybody figures it out, please tell me, but I know that one thing for sure: if there are no bees, there are no people. That's very simple. And yet, what do? They reach for the can of Raid. They do this, they do that. So many people said, well, and I'm like, if there are no bees, there are no people, and bees are endangered right now. The August drought in its severity gave me pause. Ought I continue supporting my millionth of an acre planted to support birds, bees, and butterflies and provide me with basic food? The front garden was consistently abuzz with bees, legs plump and yellow. I carried buckets of reusable water from the house and laundry and minimized my own use to keep going. My back garden, a strip of maybe 8 feet wide, was haven to birds, mainly hummingbirds, and the 3-tiered fountain was bath to many. Bees also found the herbs and flowers, but nothing like the front garden activity. Then, one day in mid-August, I noticed the hummingbird feeder was covered in bees. Whoa, I said, let me help you. I carried more syrup out in like an 8-inch glass pie pan and set it at a tilt on the table under the feeder. Lakeside dining, I said. In seconds, they were lined up side by side along the edges of the liquid. I went inside to make more syrup with the last sugar in the house. I was unable to imagine what was going to happen next. More bees came. In a few days, I had 10 feeding stations and set up using the lids of the big storage bins in the garage, each with a labyrinth of stones and sticks and other objects at hand so bees could drink without swimming. Some did manage to submerge, and I witnessed one bee getting rescued by several bees that surrounded the fallen, and after a few minutes he was up and moving using his wings. I think they licked him dry. I could sit a foot away and watch them. They never fussed each other, and I saw many rescues and other accommodating behavior among them. They were drinking 220 ounces every couple of hours, sometimes quicker. Now the cloud of bees drinking in the back garden on the table and ground under the hummingbird feeder was so thick, I felt I couldn't really see through them. I would move among them to bring more liquid. By now, advised by a beekeeper, mostly water, I knew when they were out because a contingent would come and hover by the kitchen door. And also, the tones were urgent and increasing in volume. I would emerge with the first saucepan, and bees would alight and accompany me to the feeding area as if to say, we'll help you carry that. Every tray would be bone dry between pourings. Under the rocks, dry. The sticks, dry. Every inch of every station, completely dry. A few bees would help me carry the saucepan back into the kitchen, where I filled it with cooled syrup while they watched from the rim and rode out again. Sometimes after the first feeding in the morning, I'd be cooking breakfast and hear a faint zzz, zzz, and I'd look in the mirror and find a few on my hat and shoulders. They never left me to explore the house. Go with her. Find out how she does things. See what she eats for breakfast. Over the next 4 weeks, 100 pounds of sugar and untold gallons of dilute syrup went to now jillions of bees. Was it just a bit terrifying? Oh yes. But I was not afraid. I moved slowly among them, bent to my task, and humbled by the experience they were giving me. I find it hard to describe the way I began to feel scrubbed clean deep inside, mended, and at the same time displayed. I was honored. Then the yellow jackets came. At first, peacefully drinking alongside the bees and causing no problems, until some bees started aging out, and then the viciousness started as they ganged up on a weakened bee. I consulted my bee whisperer by phone, and he said to consider withdrawing the liquid. The next day, the hornets came and threw peace out the window. Suffering became widespread, and the agony the bee whisperer warned against was terrible to see. That night, at the 30-day mark, I brought in all the trays, keeping those bees caught by dark still on the rocks and sticks in a jar so they could go free in the front garden in the morning. And just like that, the bees switched to drinking from the fountain at the edges of the tiers. And I put a little strainer above the pump to save those sliders, and hung yellow jacket traps to clear the riffraff. And now, 10 days later, only a few handful of bees are still drinking. And in the front garden, plants are covered in them, and the hummingbirds are back at their feeder. Thank you.